Before we begin, a quick disclaimer. I am not a lawyer. I am not practicing law, and the conclusions that I draw in this video, sparse as they may be, should not be construed as legal conclusions. I can't form a partnership with any of the parties at issue, or any of you for that matter, and I don't intend to. That's an exciting thing to start a video with, huh? Haven't gotten to do that yet. Yeah, alright, let's talk about direYGO's. Yu-Gi-Oh's endured for over 25 years at this point, and while a significant part of that longevity is the result of an incredible game, memorable anime, and incredibly attractive community members, a lot of the reason it remains relevant is because of its iconic character design. The Blue Eyes White Dragon, the Dark Magician, Heroes, Synchros, Yugioh's, these cards all look a certain way that's instantly identifiable and memorable. So why, in an IP whose bedrock is the strength of its character design, did one of its iconic characters all but disappear? This is how the year is 2007. The iPhone is released. Britney Spears is in the middle of a meltdown that seems pretty justified knowing what we know now. And Yu-Gi-Oh's in a bit of trouble. After the conclusion of its flagship series, Yu-Gi-Oh! Duel Monsters, the Yu-Gi-Oh! Extended Universe is struggling to find footing with a new generation of duelists. GX, short for Generation Next, has started airing, and to find purchase with younger players, has supplanted the ancient Egyptian iconography from Duel Monsters with the heroes wielded by GX's protagonist. These cards are send-ups to American superheroes. Rubber suits, masks covering their face, incomprehensible muscles. Avion, Clayman, Burstinatrix, and Sparkman are the first of what would become hundreds of individual heroes. These heroes had dozens of unique forms and abilities, and importantly could use the power of polymerization to fuse into almost any combination of the aforementioned monsters. By the release of Strike of Neos, our pack at issue, the cover card was a fusion of elemental hero Neos and one of his progeny, the Neospatian Air Hummingbird. This combined creation was the elemental hero Air Neos. This was the cover card of the set, available at Ultra and Ultimate Rare, and therefore commanded a hefty price tag. But kids excited to collect their favorite superheroes could rest easy. Yu-Gi-Oh's aggressive reprint policy meant that Air Neos was probably only a couple of months away from an affordable, common reprint. I counted myself among those children who didn't have a wad of cash for shiny cardboard, so I was determined to wait out another printing. And I've been waiting ever since. Despite this card's status as an iconic hero monster, and despite this card's still rising price point, another printing never came. Here's one of our community's best on its availability. I'm so happy to be sitting down with the one, the only, House of Champs. How are you doing here today?
Pretty good. Big day for Yu-Gi-Oh!
Very big day. So could you just give a little bit of insight into your relationship with Yu-Gi-Oh!, the community, and the product?
I started Yu-Gi-Oh! From the very beginning. The anime grabbed me, pulled me in, and ironically, the card we're talking about today comes from a set that changed my life, Strike of Neos. 6 Samurai. I was the first ever to top with it, and it debuts here, and I topped the first jump you could, and then I won a year later with it at Houston again. And so this is the cover card of the set that changed my life.
Well, I'm so happy we have at least a little bit of insight into that. I want to ask you, as an individual who spent a lot of time thinking about and understanding the print rates and timeline of printings of Yu-Gi-Oh! Cards, when was the last time we saw Neos in anything?
So for us here in the TCG, we saw him last in 2011, I believe it is, with the Samurai Assault product. It combined different sets that had to do with 6 Samurais and put them in a special edition. I would speculate personally, pure speculation, that after the Konami Upper Deck lawsuit, a lot of packs got moved around and transferred and bundles were created later because we saw some very interesting bundles, this being one of them. So Air Neos was still on the cover of Strike of Neos and the packs were placed in that product. And I think that's the last time the TCG saw Strike of Neos packs available. For Korea, it was over in 2019, I believe, when all those sets got rewaved. You got modern Strike of Neos with Neos on the cover over there, so mayhaps international law doesn't apply as much, versus this could be just in the USA.
That's right, with the exception of one strange half reprint and a Korean set not legal for play in the US designed to rewave dozens of unavailable packs, the card's been completely missing. And it's not just from paper play. With respect to digital copies of this card in something like Duel Links or Master Duel, what's his status?
I think the last time I saw him might have been Legacy of the Duelist 1. I think he might have been in there.
But it gets weirder. direYGO's hasn't just been removed from reprint sets, it's apparently been scrubbed from the memory of Yu-Gi-Oh! Proper. Products like the Hero Mat, a collection of every hero ever made, are conspicuously missing the art of this monster. Legacy support for heroes taken from the anime, like Instant Contact, have one specific guy Mike Wazowski'd out of frame. Rush Duel got heroes recently, and they invented a whole new series of cards to completely replace the Neospatian fusions to which direYGO's belongs. What's going on? Why has this card been memory hold? Well, Yu-Gi-Oh! Players are a speculative bunch. In the nearly 2 decades since its print, they've come up with all sorts of explanations for its absence.
It's been a huge mystery in the entire, TCG world. What happened to him? Where's he gone? Why can't they reprint him? Is he hostage?
Early speculation was that the private Italian airline Neos had sued for some sort of copyright issue. This was a pretty funny allegation, given that there's about a dozen hero monsters with Neos in their name. I guess players just thought they'd singled out Air Neos because it was an airplane? There was speculation that something about the art was at fault too. Konami doesn't credit their artists, so players have no way of knowing who drew the original card. Maybe they had attempted to retain the rights to their work after publication. Some even claimed it was drawn by Kazuki Takahashi himself, and that he had expressed an interest in keeping the art of this card close to his chest. Whatever the case, something was up. In 2024, players had the chance to vote for individual cards to be included in Quarter Century Stampede, one of Yu-Gi-Oh's most anticipated reprint sets. There was a community effort to vote in Air Neos, and once and for all put this rumor to rest, only for Konami to reveal results identified as the second place vote getter and down. Ruxin34, who has his own video on this card's disappearance, attempted to contact Konami about the issue and was met with silence.
Thank you for contacting Konami customer support. In response to your questions, I'm very sorry to tell you that we have no information at this time. Please keep an eye on our website for information about developments and future plans. Or you can follow us on Twitter and Facebook.
To which they linked their Twitter and their Facebook.
It looked as if whatever happened to Air Neos, we'd all have to be satisfied with our own conspiracy theories. Until today. A few hours ago on Zodiac Duelist, a Facebook page for fans of Yu-Gi-Oh! And non-fans of women, a poster named Miles Smith revealed that his friend, Yugioh.Wind, stumbled upon an amended complaint filed in 2008 by Greg Wyke, the CEO of a corporation called Beyond Comics Inc., and it's a doozy. Now, before we get into the meat of this case, I do want to remind you all, please do not harass any of the parties. Again, I'm not a lawyer and won't be coming to any legal conclusions about the case, but if an individual believes their intellectual property rights have been violated, they are well within their rights to initiate suit. The worst case scenario for this situation is for the court's decision to be supplanted by the court of public opinion. Maybe trust the legal decision-making abilities of legal counsel and not, YouTubers or ChatGPT, hypothetically. So this complaint is initiated on behalf of Beyond Comics against a number of entities responsible for Yu-Gi-Oh! At the time: Konami, Nihon, 4Kids, and Upper Deck Entertainment. This is a bit of a sidebar, but recall that in 2008, Upper Deck Entertainment still controlled large parts of the printing and distribution process for Yu-Gi-Oh! Cards. They don't anymore, and that suit is a topic for another day. In the complaint, Beyond Comics introduces the court to their superhero character, Ravidactyl. Quoting from the complaint here, Ravidactyl is a comic book character that features many unique and creative elements, including a distinctive aerodynamic designed helmet uniquely pointed in the front and back, pointed chin guard, a yellow egg-like spot on the head, glowing blue eyes, a distinctive humanoid face, red smooth body armor outlined around the muscles in blue, solid feathered metallic wings which are unique in that they allow the back and front features to remain visible, hands unique for having sharp pointed features at each knuckle and every digit of every finger, and sharp elbows. They further establish that no other character has this look and combination of elements, and that his costume was designed by aliens from outer space and can transform him from his previous form. Beyond Comics' copyright for this character was approved in 1998, and a promotion for a comic book began in 2001. Here's where things get interesting. In 2001, in a Time interview with the creator of Yu-Gi-Oh!, Kazuki Takahashi, and again, I'm quoting from the complaint here, he responded to the question, "Is it hard to come up with unique creatures for the cards?" with, "Yeah, it's hard. I'm not sure how many more I've got left in me." Subsequently, in 2007, he was interviewed by Shonen Jump about GX and claimed the new hero monsters and Neos monsters were based on the life-size presence of American comic book heroes. From there, the complaint alleges that Ravidactyl and Yu-Gi-Oh! Were simultaneously featured at a series of comic conventions in the US and France, and that Ravidactyl was prominently featured in Comic-Con in 2006 and 2007, and that Takahashi had been an attendee at Comic-Con. Moreover, they allege that Beyond Comics had worked with Blue Box Toys, a subsidiary of Takara Co., a Konami-owned company, on Psy-Girls. This working relationship allegedly included some live-action promotion made by Beyond Comics used in negotiations negotiations for Konami's video game rights to this IP. Okay, so this is a lot. Let's take a quick breather and talk briefly about direYGO. direYGO is like Greg Weich's baby. It's not just something that appeared overnight for the purposes of fucking over Mr. Konami, it's like his life's work, I think. He claims to have made a movie, or a promotional short, or a spec for a movie, depending on who you talk to or when you get the information from for this project, which starred Donald Faison, like from Scrubs, Coolio, the rapper, and David Prowse, the guy who was in the Darth Vader suit. It really smacks of like early aughts, low-budget capery. I know people want a villain in this story, but I really can't be mad at a guy who uploads stuff like this.
And her name is Coco.
So here's the official printed copy of Gekido #1 that you are in.
It's fun. Back to the complaint. Beyond Comics alleges the character was created for both domestic and international appeal, with a specific focus on Japan. They detail some of the similarities between the character and direYGO, the face, the helmet, the wings, the color, and they conclude that it'd create confusion in the marketplace as to its independent creation. This terminology is specifically important in the context of IP cases. They sent a cease and desist to Upper Deck and 4Kids, it's ignored, and so they initiated suit against the parties to the tune of $70 million. What follows is like 15 extremely boring court documents generated as a result of corporate disclosure, confirmation of service, and the like, an amendment of the complaint based on corporate superstructure, and finally the responses from all four parties. Those responses are an almost complete denial of everything for which they have knowledge, and a denial based on insufficient knowledge for allegations they don't. The response concludes with 14 affirmative defenses, reasons by which a defendant would avoid liability even if the facts go the plaintiff's way. Here they've specifically listed failure to state a claim, that direYGO was independently created, that the copying was de minimis, that plaintiffs were not the cause of the suffering, that direYGO was fair use, that there was no substantial similarity, a failure to comply with formalities regarding the Copyright Act, waiver, latches, estoppel, an unavailability to copyright, scenes affaire, the statute of limitations, and unclean hands. If this sounds like legalese, it's because it's legalese. This is all very standard. Any response worth its salt is going to both deny almost everything and assert almost all of these affirmative defenses. The only really interesting one here is scenes affaire, in which, and I'm just quoting from Wikipedia here, scenes, elements, or expressions in a work that are considered standard or customary for a particular genre or theme are therefore not copyrightable. Putting words in the mouths of the defendants here, a guy in a mask that covers his face is too standard for superheroes to be copyrightable. So from here, you'd expect the court to issue a scheduling order and for the case to start. There is a management plan in the files for this case that explains some dates for discovery, joinder, and a start date of November of 2008. So what'd they decide? Oh, I don't know. The thing about, well, most legal disputes, but definitely legal disputes between a small corporation and a giga mega international one, is that they usually don't go to court. Big companies don't want to waste time, resources, and lawyers on stuff like this, and small companies can't really afford it, so they often settle. Settlement agreements can be reached through the legal process or through an alternative dispute resolution like arbitration or mediation. I had to sign up for a free trial on a legal document review website, but I do have confirmation that this case was settled. Outside of court, the two parties came to a consensus on how to resolve the issue. But if it was resolved, then where's direYGO? Well, settlement agreements are just contracts. You can put anything in there. It's likely that any settlement agreement signed by someone who wanted to retain independent use of his character would include a provision to get what he wanted, an end to the print of the material he alleges violated his copyright. I think, and again, this is pure speculation and doesn't remotely represent a legal conclusion, the companies probably settled for substantially less money, but an injunction on printing the card and an NDA that prevents them from replying to Ruxin's emails. Keep in mind, this was happening at a similar time to Konami v. Upper Deck. So it's also possible that Konami wanted out of this litigation alongside a party they didn't see eye to eye with. So there you have it. After nearly 2 decades, the best evidence yet about the disappearance of Yu-Gi-Oh's most mysterious card. As a conclusion, I know how the internet works, and I know that the discussion that's already erupted about this situation is going to get a lot of people a lot of hate. But being completely reasonable here, if you're a mostly independent comic creator looking for his big break, and a company you've worked with before debuts a character you think looks like yours, you're gonna be hurt. If you're a big company and a creator you work with and want to continue working with has questions about the originality of your product, it might just behoove you to come to a consensus that works for the both of you. I know it's not the outcome we want as players. After all, this is cardboard we can't have. But the parties at issue have put this behind them. Let's do our best as a community to be excited we finally had our questions answered instead of using this as an opportunity to open old wounds. See you next time.